The air on Talvin was thick with humidity, the jungle's oppressive heat pressing down on everything. Captain Elena Morgan wiped her brow as she led her team deeper into the cavernous ruin. The dim light of their helmets illuminated walls etched with alien glyphs, their origins long forgotten. "Jenna, tell me you're recording this," Elena said, her voice firm but laced with awe. "Every second, Cap," replied Private Jenna Hart, her engineer and the youngest member of the team. "But these carvings, they don't match anything in the Concord database. It's like they don't want us to know what this place is." Elena smirked. "That's why we're here. To find what the galaxy missed." Behind her, Lieutenant Marcus Vale, her second in command, adjusted his rifle. "Preferably something that doesn't kill us first." The group rounded a corner, the corridor opening into a vast underground chamber. At the center, half buried beneath rubble and alien vines, was the hulking silhouette of a machine. Elena's breath caught as her flashlight revealed its unmistakable shape. "Is that?" Jenna whispered, stepping closer. "It's a tank," Elena confirmed, her voice reverent. "An M4 Sherman." Marcus frowned. What now?" "Looks like an armored box with a gun." "World War II," Elena explained, her words quick with excitement. "Earth. Over 1,000 years ago. This tank was a game-changer in its time. Simple, durable, versatile." She ran a gloved hand along the tank's worn steel plating. "But what the hell is it doing here?" "That's the million-credit question," Marcus muttered, scanning the chamber for threats. Jenna knelt by the tank's tread, brushing off layers of dust and debris. "It's in better condition than it should be, considering the age. Look at this, there are modifications. Some of this tech isn't even human." Elena's curiosity deepened. "Salvage what we can. This thing might be more than just a relic." Before anyone could argue, Marcus's calm crackled to life. "Recon drone just spotted near the perimeter," came the voice of a sentry back at the outpost. Elena straightened, her jaw tightening. "Arcturians," Marcus groaned. "Wonderful. What do they want this time? More mockery, or are they actually picking a fight? Either way, we need to be ready." "Pack it up, people," Elena ordered. "Jenna, mark this spot. We'll come back for the tank." As they exited the ruins and made their way through the dense jungle, Elena's mind churned. The Sherman tank was an anomaly, a ghost from Earth's distant past. But the modifications hinted at a mystery far larger than she'd anticipated. By the time they returned to Camp Resolute, the Arcturian drone had vanished, but its presence lingered like a bad omen. The camp itself was modest, prefab buildings clustered in a clearing carved out of the jungle. Solar panels hummed quietly, and the faint scent of burning rations drifted from the mess tent. Elena stepped into the command center, where a holographic map of the surrounding terrain flickered above the central table. Marcus joined her, arms crossed. "What's your read, Lieutenant?" Elena asked, studying the map. "They're probing us," Marcus said. "The Empire doesn't do anything without a reason. They're probably laughing at our little setup out here." "They've been laughing since we joined the Concord," Elena said bitterly. "Humans are the joke of the galaxy. Primitive. Unworthy. That's all they see." "Well, Cap," Jenna interjected, entering the room. "They won't be laughing if we get that tank operational." She tossed a small device onto the table. "Took some scans before we left. There's a power core in that thing I've never seen before. It's alien tech, no doubt about it." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "So, we've got an ancient Earth machine fused with alien technology. Sounds like the start of a bad holovid." "It's the start of something," Elena said, her voice steady. "And if the Arcturians make a move, we're going to need every advantage we can get." As if on cue, alarms blared across the camp. "Incoming!" shouted a voice over the comms. "Arcturian troop carriers, eastbound!" Elena snapped into action. "Marcus, rally the defenses. Jenna, with me. Let's get the tank operational." The jungle trembled with the approach of the Arcturian forces. Their carriers were sleek and menacing, gliding just above the ground on anti-grav engines. Soldiers in gleaming exosuits disembarked, their energy rifles humming with latent power. In the command center, General Kael'Zar watched the advance via a live feed. His angular face twisted in a smirk. Humans! Always so eager to overestimate themselves. Let's remind them of their place. At Camp Resolute, chaos reigned. Gunfire echoed as the humans scrambled to hold the line. Elena and Jenna sprinted toward the hangar where the Sherman had been towed earlier. This is insane! Jenna panted as they reached the tank. Insane is letting them wipe us out without a fight, Elena countered, climbing into the driver's seat. Can you get it running? Jenna hesitated, then nodded. Give me 5 minutes. Make it 3. Outside, the sounds of battle intensified. Marcus's voice crackled over the calm. They're breaching the outer defenses. Whatever you're doing, do it faster! Jenna's hands flew across the control panel, connecting cables and activating circuits. The tank sputtered, groaned, then roared to life. Its engine rumbled like a beast awakening from a long slumber. Elena grinned. Good work. Now let's show them what this old girl can do. The Arcturians pushed into the camp, confident in their superiority. Plasma bolts scorched the ground, and human soldiers fell back in retreat. Then, with a deafening roar, the Sherman tank rolled into view. Kael'Zar's eyes widened in disbelief as the relic from another age fired its first shot. The explosive shell obliterated an Arcturian mech, sending its twisted remains crashing into the jungle. What is this? Kael'Zar hissed. Elena's voice crackled over the comms, defiant and fierce. This is history coming for you. The Arcturians faltered, unprepared for the tank's firepower. Elena maneuvered it with precision, targeting their key units and forcing them into disarray. Jenna, monitoring the tank's systems, noticed something unusual. Elena, the power core, it's doing something. Absorbing energy from their weapons. That's why we're still standing. Elena's determination hardened. Then we use it. Push them back. The Arcturians, humiliated and bloodied, retreated into the jungle. Kael'Zar watched in silence, his pride shattered. They'll pay for this, he vowed. Every last one of them. As the camp quieted, Elena climbed out of the tank, her face streaked with dirt but triumphant. She looked at the battered Sherman, a relic turned savior, and knew this was just the beginning. Let them come, she said quietly. We'll be ready. The jungle loomed heavy with tension. The distant hum of Arcturian troop carriers grew louder, a warning of the storm about to descend. Captain Elena Morgan stood on the makeshift platform overlooking Camp Resolute, her voice steady as she addressed her team. They think they've won already, she said, scanning the hardened faces before her. They think we're weak because we're human. Let's remind them we're more than what they expect. Marcus Vale leaned on his rifle, his tone dry but resolute. Hope your pep talk comes with a miracle, Cap. We're fresh out of heavy weapons, except for that antique. Elena smirked. That antique just saved our lives. It's going to do it again. Jenna, how's it looking? Jenna Hart wiped her grease-streaked hands on her uniform as she stepped forward. The tank's running, but it's not perfect. That alien power core is unpredictable. It absorbs energy from their weapons, but I can't guarantee it'll hold if they focus fire. It doesn't have to hold forever, Elena said. Just long enough to break them. The camp's alarms blared as the Arcturian forces closed in. Their troops advanced with precision, supported by towering mechs and hovering drones. Plasma bolts lit the jungle, their heat scorching the air. Marcus barked orders, directing squads to dig in and set up defenses. Keep low, aim for the joints on those mechs. Make every shot count. From her position in the Sherman's driver's seat, Elena watched the chaos unfold. Her hands tightened on the controls. Marcus, get ready to fall back on my signal. Fall back to what? He replied over the comms. This, Elena said, revving the tank's engine. The Sherman roared to life, its modified systems glowing faintly with alien energy. Marcus's squads fell back just as the tank rolled forward, its turrets swiveling toward the nearest mech. Target locked, Marcus said from the gunner's seat. Fire, Elena ordered. The tank's cannon thundered, the shell streaking across the battlefield before exploding against the mech's leg. The towering machine teetered, sparks flying as it collapsed into the jungle. That got their attention, Jenna muttered, monitoring the tank's systems from her console. Elena smirked. Good. Let's keep it. From his command center aboard an orbiting cruiser, General Kael'zar watched the battle unfold on a holographic display. His sharp features twisted with annoyance. They're using a relic from their primitive wars, he sneered. This should not be a challenge. A subordinate hesitated before speaking. General, that relic has destroyed 2 of our mechs. Its power output is unusual. Kael'zar's eyes narrowed. Send in the heavy units. Crush them. I want that tank brought to me in pieces. Back on the ground, the Arcturian forces regrouped. Heavily armored mechs stomped into the clearing, their plasma cannons charging with ominous light. Drones swarmed overhead, peppering the humans with suppressive fire. Elena maneuvered the Sherman with surprising agility, weaving between the ruins of the outpost. Marcus, aim for the lead mech's power core. Jenna, what's our status? Core's holding, but we're pushing it. If they concentrate fire, we're toast, Jenna warned. Noted. Marcus, now! The cannon fired again, the shell detonating against the lead mech's chest. It erupted in a brilliant explosion, scattering nearby infantry. Direct hit! Marcus shouted, a rare note of triumph in his voice. The Arcturians, however, were quick to retaliate. Plasma bolts rained down, forcing Elena to retreat behind cover. The tank's modified armor absorbed the energy, glowing faintly with each impact. Core's overheating! Jenna yelled. We need to vent or it'll blow. Elena clenched her jaw. Do it! Jenna flipped a switch, releasing a burst of steam and energy from the tank's rear. The glow dimmed, but the reprieve was brief. Another wave of Arcturian forces advanced, relentless and coordinated. In the midst of the chaos, Marcus spotted an opportunity. Elena, those drones are clustering above their mechs. If we can take them out, it'll blind their targeting systems. Got it, Elena said, steering the Sherman toward higher ground. The tank's turret swiveled upward, and Marcus fired, the shell shattering a cluster of drones in a fiery burst. Without their aerial support, the mechs faltered, their plasma cannons firing erratically. Human soldiers seized the advantage, emerging from cover to strike at vulnerable points. Still, the battle was far from over. Kael'zar slammed his fist onto the console, his anger boiling over. Enough! Deploy the Annihilator mech? End this farce. The Annihilator was a monstrosity of Arcturian engineering, a towering, multi-limbed machine armed with devastating energy weapons. As it descended onto the battlefield, the jungle seemed to quake beneath its weight. Marcus's voice was grim over the comms. Elena, we've got a problem. A big one. I see it, Elena replied, her eyes narrowing. Jenna, any ideas? Run, Jenna said flatly. Not an option. The Annihilator unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, obliterating everything in its path. Elena pushed the Sherman to its limits, dodging and weaving as explosions erupted around them. Marcus, hit it with everything we've got. The cannon fired repeatedly, but the Annihilator's energy shields absorbed each shot. Jenna's console lit up with warnings. Core's critical! If we don't shut it down. Elena cut her off. Not yet. The Annihilator closed in, its massive claw reaching for the tank. At the last second, Elena veered sharply, causing the claw to slam into a pile of debris instead. Jenna, reroute all power to the cannon, Elena ordered. That'll fry the core, Jenna protested. Do it! Jenna hesitated, then complied. The tank's systems whined as the power core surged, the cannon glowing brighter than ever before. Marcus, aim for the joint where the shield generator connects to the mech's torso, Elena instructed. Got it, Marcus said, steadying his aim. The cannon fired one last time, the shell punching through the Annihilator's defenses. The mech shuddered, sparks flying as its systems collapsed. As the Annihilator toppled, The remaining Arcturian forces broke ranks, retreating into the jungle. Silence fell over the battlefield, broken only by the crackle of fires and the distant hum of retreating carriers. Elena climbed out of the Sherman, her body aching but her spirit unbroken. Around her, the survivors of Camp Resolute began to emerge, their faces a mix of exhaustion and triumph. Marcus approached, his expression grim but respectful. "Well, Cap, you were right. That antique saved our asses." Elena allowed herself a small smile. "It's not just a machine, Marcus. It's a symbol. And today, it proved humanity can still fight." Jenna emerged from the tank, her hands shaking but her eyes shining with determination. "We're not out of the woods yet, are we?" Elena shook her head. "No. But we just gave them a reason to think twice." Above them, the jungle canopy seemed to shift, the stars beyond watching silently as humanity took one more step toward defiance. Elena Morgan stood on the battered platform overlooking what remained of Camp Resolute. The jungle around them bore the scars of relentless plasma fire, charred trees leaning at jagged angles. Smoke still rose from smoldering debris, and the air was thick with the acrid scent of war. Yet the camp stood, against all odds they had held. But this victory felt fragile. It wouldn't take long for the Arcturian Empire to regroup and launch another assault, this time with overwhelming force. Elena knew they were out of time. The humans could no longer fight defensively. They had to strike back. Jenna Hart joined her, holding a datapad with a grim expression. "Captain, the power core on the Sherman is barely stable. We pushed it hard, and now it's deteriorating. Another surge like that, and we could lose the whole thing, core, tank, and us with it." Elena didn't flinch. "Can it run long enough for one more mission?" Jenna hesitated. "Maybe, but that's a gamble. And we'll need to vent it manually during the operation. No second chances." "That'll have to do. We're taking the fight to them," Elena said, her voice resolute. Inside the camp's cramped command center, Marcus leaned over the tactical table, his jaw tight as he analyzed the Arcturian deployment maps they'd managed to intercept. A series of red markers indicated the enemy's forward operating base, a heavily fortified position nestled in a canyon just 15 kilometers away. "They've got shields, sentries, and heavy artillery," Marcus said, tapping the largest marker on the map. "Storming it would be suicide." "Not if we take out their command center," Elena countered. "The Sherman's power core gives us an edge they don't expect. We'll use it to punch through their defenses and cripple their leadership." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "And what happens when the tank gives out halfway there? Or when we're outnumbered 10-1? Elena met his gaze, unwavering. "Then we make sure they remember us." Jenna cleared her throat. "Actually, we might have a way to even the odds. While I was working on the Sherman, I found a secondary energy output in the power core. With some adjustments, we could rig it to overload, turn it into an EMP burst. It could knock out their shields and disable their mechs, at least for a few minutes. That's our window," Elena said. "We hit them hard and fast while they're blind. Marcus, I want your team to handle the ground assault. Jenna and I will take the Sherman straight into the heart of their base." Marcus sighed. "You realize this plan is insane, right?" Elena allowed herself a faint smile. "Would you expect anything less?" The jungle was eerily quiet as they moved out. Elena drove the Sherman at a steady pace, its engine rumbling like a beast preparing for battle. Marcus's squad moved ahead on foot, camouflaged against the dense foliage, while Jenna sat in the gunner's seat, her fingers flying across the control panel as she monitored the tank's systems. "Core's running hot already," Jenna warned. "We'll need to vent soon." "Hold it as long as you can," Elena replied. "We need every ounce of power for the first strike." As they neared the canyon, the Arcturian base came into view. Towering shield generators cast a faint blue glow over the encampment, and rows of mechs stood ready, their weapons gleaming under floodlights. Drones patrolled the skies, their searchlights sweeping across the jungle. Marcus's voice crackled over the comms. "Positioning in 3 minutes. You'd better make a hell of an entrance." Elena smirked. "You know me. The first explosion rocked the canyon, a well-placed charge from Marcus's team that sent an Arcturian outpost into chaos. Troops scrambled to respond, but before they could organize, the Sherman roared through the jungle, its cannon firing a devastating shot that tore through a mech's legs. Inside the command center, General Kael'Zar's face twisted in fury as alarms blared. "What is this madness? Deploy all units! Stop that tank!" Elena pushed the Sherman to its limits, weaving through enemy fire as plasma bolts lit up the night. Jenna fired relentlessly, the cannon's recoil shaking the entire tank. Each shot was a calculated strike, one mech disabled, then another, their hulking forms collapsing into sparks and fire. "Jenna, vent now!" Elena shouted as warning lights flashed across the console. Jenna slammed a lever, and the tank hissed as steam burst from its sides, momentarily dispersing the heat. But the reprieve was brief, and the power core continued to climb toward critical levels. "Marcus, we're approaching the command center. How's it looking on your end?" Elena asked over the comms. "Busy," Marcus replied, the sound of gunfire crackling in the background. "We've got them distracted, but it won't last. Make it count." Elena gritted her teeth. "Jenna, activate the EMP countdown." Jenna hesitated. "Once I start it, we've got 3 minutes before the core blows. No turning back." "Do it." Jenna's fingers danced across the controls, and the tank's interior lights dimmed as power redirected to the core. A low hum filled the cabin, growing louder with each passing second. The Arcturian command center loomed ahead, its shield shimmering with energy. Drones swarmed the Sherman, firing bursts of plasma that splashed harmlessly against its armor. Elena drove straight toward the shield generator, her focus unyielding. "Jenna, target the generator!" she ordered. "On it!" Jenna fired, the cannon's shot striking true. The generator erupted in a cascade of sparks, and the shield flickered before collapsing entirely. Inside the base, Kael'Zar's rage turned to panic. "Get that tank off my battlefield!" he roared to his subordinates. But it was too late. The Sherman barreled into the command center's courtyard, its cannon firing one final shot that tore through the central communications tower. Jenna shouted, "EMP in 10 seconds!" Elena slammed the brakes, skidding the tank to a halt. "Marcus, fall back now!" "Copy that," Marcus replied, his team already retreating as the Arcturian forces scrambled in confusion. Jenna counted down under her breath. 3, 2, 1. The EMP burst from the Sherman's core in a blinding wave of energy, crackling through the air. Arcturian mechs froze mid-step, drones plummeted from the sky, and weapons powered down across the battlefield. The tank's systems went dark, its engine falling silent. For a moment, there was nothing but stillness. Elena and Jenna climbed out of the Sherman, its hull glowing faintly from the overload. Around them, the Arcturian forces were in complete disarray, their advanced technology rendered useless. Marcus's team regrouped, their faces a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. "That actually worked?" Marcus said, shaking his head in disbelief. Elena smiled, though it was tinged with sadness as she looked back at the Sherman. "She gave everything for this. A relic from our past, saving our future." Jenna placed a hand on the tank's battered surface. "It's more than a machine. It's proof that we can adapt, endure, and fight back." As the humans retreated into the jungle, the Arcturian base lay in ruins. General Kael'Zar watched from the wreckage, his pride shattered. The humans had not only survived, they had won. And for the first time, he felt the sting of fear. Elena's voice carried over the comms as they faded into the darkness. "This is just the beginning.